Hi everyone and welcome to BitKnits. Today I'm going to show you how to make a cat ears beanie pumpkin. So this is just a traditional beanie, cat ears beanie style hat. So when you wear it, these corners will sort of triangle out and they look like cat ears. We have made ours today in orange, and we've added a leaf and a little corkscrew to make it more fall and pumpkinish. This pattern is worked using the post stitches, so we create a nice sort of ribbed pattern on our fabric. For this project, I am just using some value acrylic yarn. So I have the Big Twist in orange, and it is a 4-weight yarn. Each skein comes in 380 yards. You will need less than one skein. However, these post stitches do take up some yarn. So make sure you have at least 300 yards just to be safe. You'll also need a little bit of green for the leaf and the spiral. And for this particular project, I am using a 5mm crochet hook. To start the beanie, we're going to start with a slip knot on our hook, and you want to chain a multiple of 4 stitches as long as the circumference of your head. So for the beanie that I am making, I'm going to chain 72 chains, and that will get me approximately like a medium-sized beanie. And I will put the measurements for the beanie that I make in this tutorial down below so you can check that out. So I'm going to chain 72. Once you have 72 chains, or the number of chains in a multiple of 4 that measures the circumference of your head, you want to slip stitch to that very first chain, and you're just going to slip stitch into that very first chain, and now you've created a ring. At this point, you can always put this over your head and see how it's fitting. Since the multiple is 4, if it's too large, then you need to take 4 chains out. If it's too small, just add 4 chains. For beanies, I like to err on the side of a little bit snug for this first chain row, only because as I'm crocheting, I loosen up and then it gets looser as you work. And if it's already loose, you may wind up with a much too loose beanie. But everybody is different, so if you know your tension and you know that you need to start looser, then just make sure that your chain is a multiple of 4. To start, we're going to chain 2, and then into every stitch, so that next chain, so in every chain, we're going to work a half double crochet. So all you want to do is work all the way around, working a half double crochet into each chain, all the way around your chain ring. Once you have worked a half double crochet into every stitch all the way around, slip stitch into the top of your chain 2, and that will join round 1. For round 2 and every row from here on out, we're going to chain 3. You can see our double crochet stitches. We need to work a front post double crochet in the next 2 half double crochet stitches. To do that, you yarn over. A front post means you go in from the front here and you go around that stitch. Yarn over, draw that loop through, and then work your double crochet off your hook. Let's do that again. Yarn over, put your hook in from the front, yarn over, pull that yarn through, and finish your double crochet. So that was a front post stitch in the first 2 stitches from the previous row. Now we want to work a back post double crochet into the next 2. A back post, again, yarn over, go to the back of your work, so start from back here and put your hook up and around that post. So now it's on the back side of your hook. Yarn over and pull that yarn through, and then work your double crochet. We're going to do that again in this next stitch. So yarn over, go in from the back, just around that stitch. You can see it on the back side of my hook. Yarn over, pull that loop through, and then finish your double crochet. So the front post stitches will give us the ribbed look, kind of puffs out, and the back post stitches will lie flat. However, on the opposite side, those back post stitches will bump out on that back side. So this fabric is reversible. Next 2 stitches, so we just worked around those 2. Next 2, we're going to work the front post stitch. So yarn over and go in from the front of your work around that post stitch, bring up a loop, and then finish your double crochet. Into the next front post, and finish your double crochet. Into the next 2, we want back post double crochet. So in from the back, just around that 1 stitch, and sometimes it can be tricky, those back post stitches, and finish your double crochet. So yarn over, in through the back, only that 1 stitch, work around that post, and then yarn over and finish your double crochet. This first row is the toughest because you're working through those half double crochet posts, and you really have to remember which ones you've just worked, since we need 2 front post stitches followed by 2 back post stitches, and repeat that pattern. So we just worked the back post, work some more front post in the next 2 stitches, back post in the next 2 stitches, and just repeat this all the way around. So I've worked all the way around. I have 2 stitches left. I just worked 2 front post stitches, so I'm going to work my 2 back post stitches into these last 2 half double crochets. Sometimes those last ones are really tough to see, but you should have 2 stitches at the end of this round. So you should always end on your back post stitches, because here is the start and those were our front post stitches. You can see our chain 3 right here. You just want to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3, and that will join the round. You can kind of see that pattern. To start every round going forward, chain 3, we have our front post stitches right here. We're going to do the same thing, and these are easier to find because they kind of pop out. So we're going to work our front post, complete our double crochet, yarn over, go into the next front post stitch, and complete that double crochet. So the next 2 are back post stitches. So we're going to yarn over, go in through the back around that first stitch, and finish that double crochet. The next one is a back post stitch. Go in from the back and finish that double crochet. We have our next two, which are front post and then back post, front post, back post. So that's the pattern. You work 2 front post stitches and then 2 back post stitches. So all of your front post stitches are on top of each other. So it's really easy. Once you work up a bunch of rows, you can easily tell by this ridged part where your front post stitches are. And then here's the back post stitches. Front post, back post, front post, back post. And you just work that all the way up for as tall as you want your beanie to be. If you want to add a brim to your beanie, I recommend adding another 2 to 3 rounds to your work, just depending on how large or thick of a brim that you want. Once you have the height that you want for your pumpkin beanie, you can see I've worked a number of rows. I have 24 rows total. I worked an additional 23 rows and slip stitched to the top of the chain 3 to join this last round. What you want to do now is seam up the top of your beanie. You can do this in a few ways. The easiest way is to just slip stitch through both panels here all the way across, and that will seam up your beanie. You can also leave a very, very, very long tail and thread the tail through a yarn needle and then weave in these sides, seam them up using that yarn needle. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to just slip stitch all the way across. That is typically the easiest since you already have your hook in hand and your yarn still attached. We're just going to slip stitch all the way across to seam up the top of our hat. To seam up the top, you have already joined your work with the slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. You want to make sure that your panels are next to each other. And you want to make sure that those stitches all line up all the way across. And you're basically going to want to slip stitch into every stitch all the way across. So I'm not going to chain one, I don't need a gap. I'm going through both loops and I'm just going to slip stitch. You want to do them tight but not super tight, and go through both front panel, back panel, slip stitch, and I'm going through both loops on each stitch. So you're going to do this all the way across to seam up your hat, and then we will put on the leaf. Once you have seamed up all of your stitches by slip stitching, I'm going to go ahead and work into the last stitch here and just slip stitch that stitch, and then I can fasten off. So you should have something that looks like this. We've seamed up the top. I'm going to fold my hat right side up, so just right side out. Push those little ear corners out. If you have worked enough rows for a brim, you can fold your brim up. If you want it without a brim, you can leave it like that. You should have something that looks like this. You should have two ends, one here and one on that inside that we just finished with. Go ahead and weave those ends in, and next we will make our leaf and spiral for the top of our pumpkin hat. To make our leaf, we're going to grab our green yarn. If you want a larger leaf size and little spiral, then choose a bigger hook. I am just going to be continuing on with the 5mm crochet hook and some green acrylic yarn. So to start, we're going to start with a slip knot on our hook. We're going to chain 9. Once you have chained 9, we're going to work back across this chain. I'm going to slip stitch into that first chain. I'm going to single crochet into the next 2 chains. So there's 1 single crochet, a single crochet into the next, that's 2 single crochets. So we have a slip stitch, single crochet, single crochet. We're going to half double crochet into the next 2. We're going to double crochet into the next 2. Into the last chain here, we're going to work 5 double crochets. And that has kind of started turning our corner. We're going to continue on this side of our chain now. We're going to work a double crochet into the next. So you're working opposite, so sometimes these stitches can be hard to find, but you would just want to work in the opposite side of that chain. Into the next 2 stitches we're going to work a half double crochet. Into the next 2 stitches we're going to work a single crochet. And then we're going to slip stitch into this very first stitch. And that will join our leaf. So there's our leaf. Now we can chain 20. Got my chain 20 here. Be careful not to twist it. You want to keep it all one side. You don't want it to be twisted. If you want a longer spiral, you can go ahead and chain as many more as you want, and that will create a longer spiral. Into the second chain, so here's our first chain, second chain, I'm going to work 2 half double crochets. Into the next chain, I'm going to work 3 half double crochets. And into every stitch all the way back down my chain, I'm going to work 3 half double crochets. So 3 half double crochets into every chain all the way back until you get back to your leaf. Once you have worked into every chain 3 half double crochets, you should have a spiral. When you're back at the top, you just want to slip stitch back into the leaf, and then you'll have something like this. You can fasten off, leave a long-ish tail so you can weave this into the top of your beanie hat. So I've got my yarn needle, and I'm going to weave that end in. You can place your little leaf and spiral stem anywhere on the top that you like. All you want to do is just pick up a few stitches on the top of your beanie, and then you can start weaving it in easier. I like to go in from the bottom so I don't have a lot showing on the front here. So I'm going to continue to weave this in and then weave in this tail, and then I will have a pumpkin cat ears beanie. Cat ears pumpkin beanie. These are super fun to make, super fun to wear, and they're super easy. I hope you enjoyed this little project. If you liked this pattern, I also have a tutorial for another cat ears beanie project, and I will link that down below in the description box, so be sure to check that one out as well. This one is super cute for the fall and Halloween season. I absolutely love this project. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video to anyone that might be interested. And thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time, happy crocheting. Bye!